Ever wanted to have a say in what movies are chosen for watch-alongs on YouTube channels? Do you want to have your voice heard? Are you disappointed in the channel owner's choices? Now you can. Dudates on Deck wants to know what content you want to see discussed. Stop by my live streams for your chance to pick the next watch-along I cover. Throw your hat in the ring when you give $5 or more in Super Chats during my next live stream.
Howdy, gang. And guess what? It's Friday Foolish on a Saturday. How many times will that happen? Well, it's me, you never know. But we're having Friday Foolish on a Saturday because Candice had something that came up yesterday, and I kind of hee-hawed around and talked about David Lynch a little bit, but I wanted to save the majority of the stuff for today. Apologies if I seem to be talking louder. I still have an ear that is getting stopped up and staying stopped up most of the day. And so I may be talking louder than normal. I'm a loudmouth anyway, but you know, there's a reason why I'm extra loud if I'm extra loud today. So Candice should be joining me here shortly, and I will add her when she gets on here. I have not heard any messages from her otherwise that she will not be on. So let's go ahead and get some housekeeping stuff out of the way before we get started with Friday Foolish for Real. I'm calling this Friday Foolish for Real, The Genius of David Lynch, Part 1. We're still planning on making this a two-parter so that we can more thoroughly, number one, cover more David Lynch stuff, and two, give me and Candice both a chance to, one, rewatch all of Twin Peaks, and any other items that, I want to watch The Elephant Man. Surprisingly enough, I've never watched The Elephant Man. I also want to watch I think it's Wild at Heart, which is kind of like a romance type movie, which is different for David Lynch, but I'm game to watch it. Now, before I get deep into the housekeeping stuff, I do want to remind everybody, and I reminded everybody yesterday, please, no spoilers in the chat, in particular about Twin Peaks, because Candice, I want to say she probably didn't finish all of the second season of Twin Peaks of the original run. So do her a favor and please don't spoil Twin Peaks for. A lot of you guys and gals may be thinking, well, my gosh, that was early 90s when that was on. Hasn't everybody seen it? Well, no, everybody hasn't seen it. So we don't want to spoil it for Candice, and we also don't want to spoil it for anybody else that might be watching that may have not seen all of that original series. In fact, this may encourage people to watch that. And I see Candice popping on here, and I'm going to add her here shortly when I quit running my mouth about updates and housekeeping and all that stuff. So please, no spoilers. In fact, no spoilers about anything David Lynch related, because there may be people on here that have not seen certain things. So me and Candice are not going to give spoilers for the most part. And we're asking that you guys and gals don't give spoilers. That's not meant to be mean. It's just, keeping everybody from having things spoiled for them. Okay. So now to the housekeeping stuff. So got a couple of watch alongs and a movie munchies that is Twin Peaks related coming up. Tonight, there is a watch along for Dog Soldiers, which is a werewolf movie. This was chosen by Menelect, who gave a super chat. You can give a super chat of $5 or more during this live stream that me and Candice are doing. And I may have to get up in a minute and let the dogs in because somebody is scratching at the back door here. So just wanted to put that out there. But Dog Soldiers will be tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch Dog Soldiers on YouTube, folks. And tomorrow night's watch along, also at 7 p.m. Eastern time, is a pick from Brian King, who gave a $20 super chat. Now, I'm not saying you got to give that much, but thank you, Brian, for the $20 super chat. All you got to do is give $5 or more, and you can throw your hat in the ring to pick one of the upcoming watch alongs I do. Now, I'm doing these watch alongs every other weekend, so we'll have them this weekend, but not next weekend. But the following weekend, Dana's going to take a pick for Saturday because I ain't picked one in a little bit, and we're going to be watching Nail Gun Massacre. At a crazier film you have never seen, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun with Nail Gun Massacre. It's just crazy good fun. Okay, including this guy that when he dies, his toupee is sliding off, and he like leans on top of a barbecue grill, and somehow this little spindly barbecue grill is holding this guy up. I don't know how. So he defies gravity, I guess. So anyway, that'll be the weekend after next. But to get to the movie munchies for tomorrow, wait for that to drop tomorrow because these are pre-recorded now. I will not be doing them live, so there's no set time. But I've got my thumbnail all ready to go for that, and Candice has already seen it because, being my friend sometimes has its perks. You get to see stuff a little bit early before I put it out, and she loved it. So it's going to be for Agent Cooper's Damn Fine Cup of Coffee and Cherry Pie, folks. So be sure to be on the lookout for that to drop at some point tomorrow. Okay, it might be 11:59 when it drops, 11:59 p.m., but it will be dropping on Sunday at some point, barring something not happening. Okay, so also I'm planning on starting the Cannon Fodder series on the Golden Globus era of Cannon films. Coming up next week, I think about Wednesday, I'm planning on doing that. Tuesday, I'm planning on starting Dick's Picks, the films of Dick Randall, the films that Dick Randall produced. And yeah, he produced a boatload more than Sandy Cove did. So this series is going to be a little bit longer. So look forward to all of that coming up. If anybody wants to join me for the cannon fodder stuff or the Dick's picks, just let me know and I will make sure you get the link to join me. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to add Candice real quick here. Hey, Candice.
Hey, Dana. Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
I can hear you okay. Even with the stopped up ear, I can.
Okay, because I was having a little technical difficulties before getting on here. We couldn't get the mic to work. So
Okay.
I don't know what was going on with it. So if you can hear me good, that's a good sign.
I can hear you. And Candice looks very nice today. I told Candice like she's glowing again today.
Well,
The last time I'm not
well,
trying to
thank you.
embarrass her or anything, but her skin's just, I hope it's not due to sickness or anything like that, but she's just glowing.
I'm probably just red. I don't. It's my rosacea. But I got my cup of coffee here in my Doors mug. So
Well, I don't have a cup of coffee and I don't have bubbly today, but I do have Starburst sparkling
well,
ice.
that's good too. I like that. That's my favorite, the cherry.
Yeah, mine too. I like the strawberry second, but the cherry's my first love.
Yeah, I really like that one.
I'm going to enjoy the hell out of that cherry pie tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that
I'm gonna,
sounds good.
I'm going to try to see if I can make it with the Splenda blend so that it's more diabetic friendly
Yeah.
for me. So I try to do that when I can. I'm going to step away just over here to the door for a second and see which of the dogs wants to come in.
Okay.
Frank, Darcy, Frankie, better come in if you want to. The door's going to close. Come on. Everybody can hear me. I didn't take myself out of the screen. Come on, hurry. They just don't want to wait on me all day. Come on. Zoe. Come on, Zoe. All right. Zoe will probably come running over here in a second. Wanting to come in. So, I wanted to bring up the fact that I'm supposed to be getting April Fool's Day on 4K tomorrow. So y'all look out for another Evil Dead Chicks excellent movie reviews where I'll be talking about, the special features and all that stuff on an upcoming thing.
But I did want to apologize for not being on here yesterday. That was a total just unexpected thing that happened, and how life goes sometimes. So I'm glad that we got to at least reschedule it for today. I mean, it's not technically Friday Foolish anymore, but
No, but you never know what we're gonna do. These gals will do just about anything. So anything that's legal.
Yeah.
We should preface that by saying it's got to be legal.
Yeah, it's got to be legal, but I mean, we got real, but yeah, I was really looking forward to it. Just something, spontaneous happened, and Dana understood, so that's the good thing is that I have somebody that understands and that doesn't get mad or upset or anything like that. So I hope I didn't ruin it for anybody that was wanting to watch it and stuff. But here we are. We're going to make up for it.
Yeah, we are definitely going to make up for it. And I've got my Eraserhead notes. Candice is going to roll her eyes, and I can't blame her really. But see my Eraserhead notes that I made, because there's some things that I wanted to bring up about Eraserhead that I didn't even know, and and I think Candice kind of hinted at this too, is we hate to say that the death of somebody brings about a resurgence or a reinterest in somebody, and even going so far as to watch things that person was a part of that we didn't watch when they were alive.
Yeah.
Now I always loved David Lynch's stuff, but now I'm just ravenous.
Yeah.
And I didn't really ever watch many interviews with David Lynch, but now I'm going back and watching old interviews and stuff with him. There was an interview that this guy did with him back in 1979, and they talked at length about Eraserhead, and that's where I got a lot of these, excuse me, a lot of these notes for. But something I wanted to bring up before we get deep into this, I had no idea, but I was watching David Lynch talk, and he said that before he started writing the script to Eraserhead, he didn't say what Bible verse it was, but that he read a Bible verse and it just something, exploded in his head, and then he started to write script for Eraser. And Candice is probably saying, "What in the heck? What could he have read out of the Bible that made
I
you think about that?"
I don't know.
But I just wanted to bring that up before we got deep into this. Now, this is part one, as I said a little bit earlier, and me and Candace will want to do a part two.
Yeah.
Now, I can't do Friday Foolish next week because they got this gal working a late Friday, and that means I got to work till 7 p.m. Eastern time, and that seriously cuts into me and Candace being able to start a Friday Foolish at 6. So, probably will not be any sort of Friday Foolish next week, but the week after, we're going to be covering a whole lot more of David Lynch because
Yeah.
there's so much to talk about with this man. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Well, especially like Twin Peaks. Like I said, I had watched the entirety of the first season. I had never seen the second season of Twin Peaks, and it had been years because the first thing that I really got into, like I really, really liked, like it became something that I would watch all the time. Something like, like the first time I'd watched like the Evil Dead stuff, I just got obsessed with it, or uh, A Clockwork Orange, or you would watch it over and over. Was Blue Velvet. That was the first thing that I said, "Hey, this guy's named David Lynch. He's the one that did this, and I enjoy this movie." But I had seen things that he had done before then, like I remember it was early 2000s, late 90s, maybe 99, 2000, something like that. There was a movie that my grandma, and it's like when you think of David Lynch, you don't really think of this movie, but it was called The Straight Story.
mhm.
Have you ever seen it? It's a
I have
true
not seen
story.
that one. Mm-mm.
It's a true story about this guy. Um, I think his name was like Alvin Straight or something like that. And he, like, his brother got sick, and he was dying, and he got on this tractor, and he drove across maybe the country. It's been so long since I've seen it. Um, to go visit him before he died. And the guy that played the lead character was I think I forget his, like, Richard Farnsworth or something like that was his name.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you probably seen him in other stuff. I think he was a stunt man
Um,
for some
but I
movies.
think when Richard Farnsworth, didn't he play Buster, the sheriff on Misery?
Maybe. You see, his face and his voice when you hear it, and because he ended up passing away. I remember because my grandma was wanting to watch that movie for some reason. I guess she had seen like the previews on TV for it, and we went to the movies and watched it. From what I remember, because I remember watching it with my grandma, and she loved it. So whenever it came out, she actually got it. I think probably on VHS or something like that, and I watched it a couple times with her. But shortly after that film was released, he actually died,
Uh-huh.
and I think it was self inflicted. He had got maybe terminal cancer or some kind of something that, yeah, and I remember that, and that was so sad because it was right after that film was released, but it's after I watched other things from David Lynch, that seemed like such a normal movie from him.
Exactly. Well, I was
Yeah.
talking about a movie before you came on here, and I think it's called Wild at Heart, which is pretty
Yeah.
much a romance movie. He did that one too. That does not seem like your typical David Lynch film either.
I know that film. I don't think I've ever sit down and watched it, but I think I've
Right.
seen people watching it. So, yeah, that doesn't seem like anything that he would do either, but, um, like, I've seen, like, The Elephant Man. Now that I can see him doing
Right.
With Anthony Hopkins, but, which that film was a good film. It's filmed in black and white like Eraserhead, because Eraserhead is completely black and white, correct?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I've never seen it. I've s I've started watching it, a few times, um,
It's a well,
but
Eraserhead is an acquired taste. There's
yeah,
certain food and drink that's an acquired taste. Like I always said,
yeah,
green tea was an acquired taste.
mhm,
Well, Eraserhead is acquired taste. It's one of those movies where you can take it or leave it, right? So some people, I can't say that I'm in love with it, but I'm
yeah,
so intrigued by it that I can't stop myself from watching it. And I've only watched it
yeah.
2 times in a lot of years. So,
What I remember seeing of it
hmm
was gross.
well, yeah, that it does fit that the
Yeah, and
grossness of it.
it was just hard for me. It seems like somebody was stepping on eyeballs and popping them. I don't know if that's just something I've made up in my head,
Well, the
but
the the character referred to by David Lynch is the
mhm,
Radiator Lady. I didn't realize that's what she was, but she's literally the lady in the Radiator that Henry, the main character, keeps saying. And there is a scene where these, I'm sorry to put it this way, folks, but this is how I put it yesterday when I was talking about
mhm.
sperm like creatures. They have big heads and they have a long tail.
That
And
might be it.
she is dancing and she's stomping on.
That's probably what it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what it was. I mean, like I said, it's been, 20 years probably since I've seen the little
Uh,
bit that I did.
Tom, this is part one because Candice was not able to join me for part one. Part one yesterday was literally me just kind
It's
of
supposed to
rambling
been
on
this.
about random things. And if you read the titles of them, and I'm not trying to be a smartass here, I'm just saying if you read the title, I've changed the title from yesterday to Friday Foolish, kind of, with the little winking emoji.
Well, I kinda did leave you, like, hanging whenever you did go on air. She had no idea that I wasn't gonna be on there, so,
It was
uh,
just something that happened real fast, and
yeah,
you just have to recover as best you can and move on. But this is the official part one.
yeah,
Now, if anybody is bothered by the title from yesterday, I will take that part one off of there. I don't have any
yeah.
problem. But
That was just Dana. She said, "Well, since people's on here, I wanna go ahead and hang out." That's kinda what she was doing, which I appreciate too. I mean, Dana coulda said, "Well, I'm just getting off of here," but she
yeah,
didn't,
I could
so
have just said, Candace can't be on here with me. Bye, everybody.
yeah, so all that's my fault. So, but,
No, this is just something that happened. And the poet's in here, and Chris is in here. Chris said he could hear you good, by the way, Candace. So,
good, good.
um,
Um,
the poet says some people are ahead of the curve, like David Lynch. Yeah, David Lynch was ahead of his time. There's no
mhm.
doubt about that.
Oh, yeah, well, his style is kinda like how, you look at somebody like Tim Burton. Their style is a set apart from anybody else, and that's kinda how, um, David Lynch is. It's the same type of concept, you know? So, at least that's what I believe. When I watch his stuff, you can really tell, "Hey, this is David Lynch's style." The way that I see some of the stuff, like Blue Velvet, let's put that in, because I Blue
Mhm.
Velvet, like I said, was that film that I really that the first film that I really watched that I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of obsessed with this a little bit," and it's a
Yeah,
hard watch for some people. I remember I
very.
was shocked the first time I watched it. It was kinda a shocking, just like A Clockwork Orange, when you watch it for the first time, you're a
Yeah.
little bit shell shocked, but, you can see the value of it, I guess, after you watch it over and over again. But I love Kyle MacLachlan.
Me
And
too. And Kyle MacLachlan, I'm sorry, I gotta say this. Kyle MacLachlan is hot in Blue
he is.
Velvet.
Well, he's hot no matter what. He's still
Yeah,
an
I mean,
attractive man.
I'm in love with Agent Cooper. I'm like Audrey. I've got the hots for him. I can't
Oh,
help
yeah. And I really like him in Twin Peaks. I think that
it.
his true character shines in Twin Peaks. And
Mhm.
like I said, whenever I went and watched Twin Peaks for the first time, that was probably 15 years ago, I guess. And it was just the first season. I didn't get past that. So I am, for the first time right now, with fresh eyes. I started the whole series over, and I'm finally into the second season. I'm like maybe 8 episodes in,
Mhm.
if that. Um, and I'm loving the second season. Like,
Yeah,
I am obsessed with the second season. I think that it's really it's coming into itself even more because at
definitely.
the first time I watched Twin Peaks, at first, it's slow, kind of at first.
It builds like the first season. I think the first season is like building blocks,
Yeah, yeah,
and then
it
it
is.
like blows wide open in the second
Yeah,
season. Is what it does.
yeah, and whenever it does that, whenever it goes into that second season, so much is starting to happen that it's just really it's interesting, I guess. But I love how in Twin Peaks, um, there are some people that we are, Ed and what's his girl wife's name,
Is it
Ed and
is it Nadine or
yeah, yeah,
is that her
and
name?
them from People Under the Stairs as
Yeah,
the sadistic. What were they, brother and sister in People
yeah,
Under?
but oh, you want to talk about something weird? We could do a whole thing under the people under the stairs. I love the
Mhm.
people under the stairs, and my
Oh, I
mom
do too. I
always
love it.
loved it too.
Yeah,
But they
but
called each other mommy and daddy, and
yes, it
they
was
were very
very
it
weird.
was very twisted.
It was really, really weird, but, uh, and, Everett McGill, he's in, Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet, he's great in Silver Bullet too. I
Yeah.
love Everett McGill.
Yeah, and the eye patch that his wife is wearing in Twin Peaks, that's kind of like a nod, I think, to his character in, Silver
Yeah, I
Bullet.
didn't think about that, but yeah, I think you're right
Yeah,
about that. Did you,
and I
speaking
love
of
that.
that eye patch, Candice, did you notice that Nadine, she has these little trinkets and stuff, little
Mhm.
knickknacks and stuff around their
Yeah.
house? Did you notice that one of those knickknacks has an eye patch?
No, I must have missed
I
that.
noticed that this time around. I was like, what
Really?
was
I'll
that
have to
custom
I'll have to
made
look
or
for that.
something?
I'll have to look for that, but, I just love that fact, and watching it the second time around, because I loved it the first time I watched it, even though it started out slow, um, the for the first season, but watching it this time,
Mhm.
the first season, I got a lot more than I did because back then I was kinda confused a little bit for some things, but watching it this time around, either I've matured or just, I don't know, relate to it more, if that's saying anything about myself.
I think
Um,
as we get older,
you
I think
understand.
because when
Yeah,
I first started watching Twin Peaks, the pilot and all
yeah.
that stuff, the pilot movie, like I've told people before, my dad tuned out when it became a series because he was like, what is this stuff with the log lady and all that
Mm,
stuff? But I was in my early teens. I was like, I was in high school
yeah,
when that started. Like, I'm talking like a freshman in high school.
yeah,
And so the Dana I was as a 14, 15-year old, and the Dana I am now, that's
yeah,
had all these years in between, I see things in Twin Peaks that
yeah,
I did not observe as an early teen. So it
yeah.
changes.
That's definitely how I've seen things. As I've gotten older, I view things a lot differently. I understand things better. Um, but you brought up, wood, and one thing I did want to say is the obsession that David Lynch must had with like wood, because you got the log lady in Twin
Yeah.
Peaks, and you go to Blue Velvet, and you got which is my little tagline I have down here, like the radio station.
Logs.
Yeah, and I think the town's called like Lumberton, and
Yes, it is.
the
Yeah.
radio station's called like Wood, WOOD, or something like that. And I just thought that was humorous. I mean, and I think I read that he likes wood, like he likes logs and the forest and stuff like that. So I thought
Mhm.
that was a fun thing, because I didn't realize that until I watched this Twin Peaks again. I was like the log lady, then Blue Velvet. There's this stuff. He must have something with wood.
Maybe he's got a wood fetish. They always said Tarantino had a foot fetish, which
Wood,
is why
yeah.
he always shows women's feet in his films.
Mhm.
Um, Tom says that Kyle MacLachlan played in The Hidden in
Mhm.
1987. That is correct, and I have The Hidden on my shelf, and I have never watched it. I need to watch it
I
because
don't think I've seen it either.
I think wasn't it Chris that said something about The Hidden, or am I wrong?
Now, is that the one where he's like there's one I remember him being in. I remember the cover of it. It shows it's like in black and white. It shows like his face, like it's some kind of so
I could
that
probably.
I don't think I've seen it, but then again, there's one that I watched him in that I can't remember the name of it.
Is this what you're talking about, Candice? Here,
Let me see.
this is the Blu-ray of it.
No, that's not what I'm saying, but it could be an alternate thing.
So
look
it
it up.
says The Hidden, a new breed of criminal. It's killed 37 people, robbed 6 banks, 2 liquor stores, a record shop, and stole 2 Ferraris. Now the fun starts. It just took over a police station. So that alone has got me intrigued.
Well, it may be, Dana. This may be what I'm thinking about. I've never seen that, but I've seen
And Jack Schroeder directed this one too. So.
Seems like he's wearing glasses.
Blissful. And Chris says, I have it if you want to watch it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. I don't think I've seen that one at all. But I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with Twin Peaks this time around. It's I think my favorite characters are Andy and Lucy. Besides Agent Cooper, I really like their characters.
Yeah. It's since we're speaking of characters, Candice, I want to get your perspective on this because I mentioned it a little bit yesterday, and I think it was X-Ray that said, excuse my language, but I'm just repeating what he said. He said that these two characters were annoying as fuck. That was how he, but the characters of James and Donna, they are the only 2 characters that get on my nerves in that entire series. Because, and here's why they bother me, is because their romance seems too cutesy. It seems false. And maybe David Lynch wanted it to be that way. Yeah, I don't know.
think what my perspective, because when you watch Twin Peaks, it's got that cheesy David Lynch, little flair that he means for it to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people are lost in that. Some people take stuff too seriously.
Right.
They just don't get the style of it because, I mean, it's supposed to be like kitschy.
But they're the only 2 characters that annoy me. Everybody else I like.
I don't get annoyed by them. I think that he purposely made, especially James. I think that he is supposed to be like a over exaggerated, like James Dean type character. And
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it kind of plays into that. Like, if you look at Twin Peaks, it's like a soap opera. It's got like that cheesy soap opera type music.
And it has that cheesy soap opera within it, Invitation to Love.
It does. And also, I mean, because whenever they're together, this certain like song, you hear it in the background playing, and it's like something that's like with like as the world turns or something like that, and it's over exaggerated, and
Mhm.
I just think that's part of humor.
Mhm. And I
So
think probably I need to look at it that way. And here's the difference between me watching Twin Peaks in my early teens and watching it
yeah,
now is that James and Donna didn't irritate me when I was in my early teens. And
yeah,
maybe that's because when you're in your early teens, it's like romance is all lovey dovey, fluttery, and
yeah,
makes your heart flutter and all that stuff. You haven't gotten to the adult version of love yet.
yeah,
But I can understand what Candice is saying about, James being an exaggerated version of James Dean. And they
yeah,
do, him and Donna do have a like a 1950s sitcom type, like a Leave It to Beaver and
yeah,
type of, oh, we're in the bloom of love. And it is very likely that David Lynch wanted it to be that way, because I think that's the type of humor that David Lynch liked. And actually, um, since we're talking about humor and stuff, let me find that quote that Lynch said about. Um, okay, so when he was talking about Eraserhead, and I'm not going to talk too much about because I'm just going to interject these things in here. David Lynch said back in 1979 that the first half of Eraserhead is essentially a black comedy. He said this is a strange comedy. It can slide easily into a fearful situation because it is an uneasy type of comedy, and the audience does not get too comfortable. And perhaps that's the way he wanted people to feel about Twin Peaks as well. Don't let the audience ever get too comfortable, and they will never see some of these twists and turns coming until they get there. So I just wanted to bring that up because I did remember that he did talk about black comedy and the brand of comedy that he tries to use to
yeah,
work.
and you can see that even um in something even like Blue Velvet, which I really like Blue Velvet. I think that it's very artful film.
Mhm.
Um, Dennis Hopper is absolutely insane in it. I mean, it's just
Yeah, when he takes out, is that like nitrous oxide that he's breathing?
I think so, yeah. It's some
And then
kind
he
of
starts to, mommy,
oh god,
oh,
now that's the part that is
mommy.
really bad. That's the part that is bad. But it's got Isabella Rossellini in it, which is Ingrid
Yes.
Bergman's daughter. Which I didn't find that out until years later that that's who that was her mother. A very beautiful woman.
Yes.
Um, and I also like in Blue Velvet, one thing that I realized because I love the song Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
But it takes that song and it just like my favorite Roy Orbison's. I'm a huge Roy Orbison fan. He's one of my favorite singers, and my favorite song is "In Dreams."
Yeah.
And when I first watched the film, I watched it because I seen that what's his name? Dean Stockwell was in it, and I
Yeah.
love Dean Stockwell. I love him as Al in Quantum
Yeah.
Leap, and I said, "I'm gonna watch this," because I had the impression for some reason that he was, like, the lead person in it. I don't know, I
Right.
was young, so, I started watching it, and I realized that he wasn't. I was like, "Where is Dean Stockwell?" Then
Where did he go? Where is he in here?
we're introduced to him, and he's this crazy, crazy, like, drug dealer, I guess,
Yeah.
kingpin or whatever, and with this, flamboyant look and, just then he starts on with that "In Dreams" by Roy
Yeah.
Orbison. He's, like, lip syncing it terribly with a light using a light as a microphone. And he just looks creepy because he's got this powdery makeup on, and you can see in like some
Yeah,
he looks like
it's
something, from the like dark ages or something, but it's creepy.
it is
And
very creepy.
you see Dennis Hopper, he's looking at him while he's sitting there singing that song, and his face, it's like the only time that you see any kind of emotion out of him that is not evil, and you see him like become like a baby, I guess. I really
It
don't
has
know.
some kind of serene, calming effect
Yeah.
on his character.
He starts getting very emotional, like when he starts hearing him, and then he starts getting mad, and I'm like, "Let's ruin those songs for me." And I had forgot about it, after because it'd been a really long time since I had seen Blue Velvet, and like I said, I used to be obsessed with it, but, um, watching it again and hearing him sing that song made me feel weird about that song again. I said, I'm not gonna get that out of my head. I'm gonna think about this now every time. Because Blue Velvet had that same effect. I still can't hear that song to this day without feeling weird,
Yeah,
you know?
I do that with certain songs. That's like what people do with certain like Clockwork Orange. They do Singing in the Rain, don't they?
Yeah. Yes.
And he's doing Singing in the Rain while he's doing these horrendous things.
Yeah.
So that could potentially ruin that song for you for the rest of your life, even if
Yeah.
it was a happy song originally. If you're watching somebody kicking somebody to death or raping some,
Yeah.
and I'm going to try to say that only once because YouTube don't like that word. They'll think that we're condoning something like that. Or
Oh, yeah.
so I got to be careful. YouTube's gotten so, you have to watch what you say every second. So, um, sorry, YouTube. I didn't mean to. Sometimes that word comes out and I forget to use an alternative term. But, if somebody is singing a song, it doesn't matter how nice the song originally was.
Yeah.
If they're doing horrendous things, it's going to paint these pictures in your head. And
Yeah.
other songs have been that way for me. I just can't
Oh,
remember.
yeah. Well, it's like whenever the Insidious films come out and Tiptoe Through the Tulips become like this song, which was, made people run and scream.
Well, I don't know how many of y'all have seen Storm of the Century, the Stephen King miniseries from several years ago, and the evil character of Linoge that comes into town
Oh, yeah.
when he does whatever mumbo jumbo he does to people and makes them go crazy. They start singing, "I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Tip me over and pour me out." And then they kill somebody. And they have this glazed look on their face when they're singing "I'm a little teapot." And "I'm a
Yeah.
little teapot" is a song that kids used to sing.
Yeah.
And then you're getting this evil entity that is associating a childhood song with murder and
Yeah.
mayhem, basically. So, yeah. And
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It makes stuff creepy, I guess.
it takes it over to a whole new, like, really dark level. Um,
It does. It really does. But I mean, the song Blue Velvet, it's playing, and then you realize that Blue Velvet, what the significance of that song and I guess just what the weird kink that Dennis Hopper has, and you're
yeah.
like, "Oh, that's why it's called Blue Velvet."
Yeah,
And,
I had forgotten about that whole thing, but I mean, I knew it was called Blue Velvet, and you
yeah,
see Blue Velvet, but he takes it over to a whole new level with
he
what
really
he does.
does. And I had forgotten that Brad Dourif was in that as one of
Brad
his
Dourif is
cronies.
great in this, even though he doesn't say a whole lot
Not
or
a whole lot.
do a
Yeah,
whole bunch, but it's just the Brad Dourif vibe is in there.
yeah. And I love Brad Dourif, so, I mean, that's something, I was happy to see him. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot he was in this." So, um, but, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with the and like you said, I think we talked about this before. It's it's weird how, like, somebody passing away would bring you a resurgence
Mhm.
of something, that they done, but usually, it happens, that happens.
Yeah.
So, um, I'm not glad that he passed away. It breaks my heart that he passed away. It's very sad that David Lynch passed away. I was shocked whenever Chris told me
Yeah.
that he had passed away, but I'm glad that I chose to, go ahead and start watching his stuff again and getting back into it because I really like his style. Um, but Twin Peaks is by far the to me just my favorite thing that he's done that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm like the biggest David Lynch fan and that I've seen every movie that he's ever made because I've not. I've not even seen probably a quarter of what he's made. But I'm excited with the Twin Peaks stuff because I really loved Twin Peaks back then when I watched it for the first time, the first season. And I have no idea why I never went ahead and finished it out. I think that we just had the first season. Somebody had it and I rented it, or maybe it was the library that had it and I rented it from them, or
Mhm.
somebody had it or something, and they didn't have the second season. Um, but I would like to watch the movies. I want to watch all that, and hopefully, when we do the second one, I will have all that done because you're not going to be, having one next week, and that's going to give us what like 2 weeks to do
Yeah.
that. So.
To watch
I,
some more stuff.
I think that I'll be able to do that in that time frame because, Twin Peaks to me, uh, watching it this time especially, is something that I don't wanna stop watching.
Mhm.
So, but I'm glad that because I'm really loving this second season. I'm excited to see where it goes from where it's at.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear Candace's reaction when she does get it all completed.
Mhm.
And perhaps I don't know exactly where Candace could see it because I've got the box set. I've got hold on, let me see if I can grab that real quick here. This is technically what people would refer to as the third season of Twin Peaks.
Mhm.
This is that limited run series.
Yeah.
And you can see Agent Cooper, like young Agent Cooper and older Agent Cooper.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of slides open like the original set. But I would even like to talk about this, and I've only watched it all the way through one time, but I want to watch it again. Now, did I like it as well as I did the original 2 seasons? No, I didn't. And uh, I personally would have liked to see him do more with Kyle MacLachlan's Agent Cooper. I mean, you saw him a lot. I just didn't feel like they utilized him to the full
Mm.
extent like they did with the original 2 seasons. But anyway, maybe we'll get to talk about that briefly. Um, but there's some other stuff like I want to see the Elephant Man. I want to see that Wild at Heart. I want to
Yeah.
see, there's several things. I'd even like to go back and see those short films of David Lynch. You want to talk about some bizarre stuff? Y'all think Eraserhead's bizarre? I watched these short films years and years ago, and man, it'll blow you the brains right out the side of your head.
Oh my gosh.
Watching some of that stuff. It's yeah.
Which
Um,
which I like these type of, art typey, films, that kind of goes over your head a little bit. Because
yeah.
to me, what I watched of Eraserhead, it totally just made me, to be honest, it made my head hurt.
Well, Candace, they were in that 1979 interview that was done. They were interspersing that interview with David Lynch, and David Lynch was really super young. I mean, it still looked like David Lynch, but he was super young during this. But they were
Yeah.
interspersing that interview with people that had just come out from seeing the movie. And some people were like, oh, it was great. Other people were like, this was a terrible movie. I never want to see it again. Some people were like, I didn't get it. And David Lynch said, he said at one time he didn't even remember writing Eraserhead. It's like, well, David Lynch, were you on drugs or something? But he literally doesn't remember. And I know Stephen King said that he didn't remember writing Cujo, but the reason why he didn't remember writing Cujo is because he was on cocaine.
He was on drugs.
Yeah, he was coked up all the time. I hate to use that term, but and Stephen King said what made him stop using cocaine and get straight is he said he looked in the wastebasket one day, and I know this is not about David Lynch, and it was piled full of bloody Kleenexes where his nose was literally being destroyed by this cocaine, as well as other things. You can't do that on a daily basis and not have it wreak havoc on your body. There's just no way. Not Coca-Cola, Tom. We're talking about cocaine, the drug. Like they say, cocaine's a hell of a drug. So I hope I hope the people that kid about that line have never tried it. I'm sure Rick James did.
I know Rick James did.
Rick James was on all sorts of recreational chemicals.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But one of the things that David Lynch also said was he said, once you create a world, no matter how strange it is, you have limitations and you have to stay within the limitations. If you break them, things fall apart. And he said that in 1979, but I think that applies to everything that he did after Eraserhead and probably before Eraserhead as well. Twin Peaks, you may think that Twin Peaks doesn't have limitations, that Twin Peaks doesn't have any boundaries, but everything has boundaries.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Even Blue Velvet has boundaries.
Yeah, and that movie is kind of like where it's at. I think I might even talk to you about this privately, but it's got 1 foot over the line and 1 foot over on the safe side and the other foot on the not so safe side. So it's straddling that line, definitely. But not all throughout the film, just that one scene. But I don't know. It's a good film nonetheless. I think it was even like nominated. Didn't he get like best director, or was not nominated for best director for that film?
See, it seems like it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it sure seems like it. And y'all may see Steve in the background. He's cleaning some stuff up. But and Lynch also said that when he was writing Eraserhead, and he may have done this with other movies, so I guess he remembers a little bit about writing. And he said he wasn't thinking about an audience. When he was writing it or when he started making it. He didn't even think that it would get distributed. I guess he thought, oh, this is going to be a private film for me and the people that helped me make it. And then when they did get a distributor, he said he thought it would be seen once and that would be it. He said, I did not think about how people were going to react to it.
Yeah. I think, I can't say it's a good film or a bad film because I've never watched it. So I really can't speak on it very much. Just, I started watching it. I got maybe 30 minutes in, 30, 40 minutes in, probably almost to the end. I don't know how long the film is, but I wasn't really paying attention because it was one of those where I was trying to I was trying to watch, but my ADHD was going to like
Mm.
so, maybe I should sit down and give it a watch. Like I told you, maybe one of these days I might surprise you. I might sit down and watch it. But as of right now, I think I'll watch other
Candice is probably
stuff.
thinking, dang it, Dana, stop talking about Eraserhead. I don't want
No,
to hear
I mean, I'm sure
more.
there's people that loves Eraserhead. I'm sure that there is. I'm sure that there's people that's their favorite movie. Uh,
I can't
and
say it's my favorite movie. But like I said, there's just something intriguing about the
yeah,
movie. And I brought this up too yesterday that people may say that the mutated or deformed baby is gross and all that. But I felt for that baby. I knew it wasn't a real baby. I
yeah.
knew it was a creation of David Lynch's, and it was not a living being. And when the terrible thing happens to it at the end, that was not something that was happening to a real baby. But for the length of that movie, I felt like it was a real being. And this is going to be kind of a spoiler. Do you want me to mention it, Candace, or do you want me to not?
For Eraserhead,
Yeah, for Eraserhead.
that's up to you.
Well, if potentially if you wanted to watch it, I don't want to like. This isn't the be all end all, and it's not a huge twist. It was just something that broke my heart whenever I was watching it.
Is it something you've already told me? I don't care if you ruin it for me.
Uh, okay, well, okay. If Candace doesn't care, I because this is not a twist really. It's just Henry, the character that Jack Nance plays in this. His girlfriend has given birth to a horribly, I hate to put it this way, but horribly deformed or a mutated baby. We don't know why. We don't know how. We don't know if it was bad genetics. We don't know if it was outside like chemical pollution or whatever that produced this child that was like this. But his girlfriend is very odd, and she just up and just leaves Henry with the baby and goes back home to her parents' house. So for the duration of the movie, Henry is having to care for his child. We don't know if this is a boy or a girl. We don't, we don't, it's just this being that's here. So Henry tries to take care of it. He tries to take care of it when it becomes ill, and he checks its temperature, and he does all these things, and he tries to feed the poor creature. And finally at the end, we have noticed that this baby has been wrapped in something that looks like a bandages, that you would put on if you cut your hand or something like that, and you would put stretchy bandages on. That's what it looks like. It's wrapped around this baby, and you just see its head sticking out here. So Henry, for whatever reason, decides that he's going to cut these bandages off. So he gets some scissors out. He cuts the bandages off. As he's cutting, the baby is gasping for air and moaning and groaning like this is hurting the, the child. When he opens it up, all the internal organs are visible. It's like there's no outer skin to cover the baby's organs. And so I took it as it still broke my heart, even though it wasn't a real baby, what Henry does. But I feel like his character was trying to put this baby out of its misery. That this baby had been, every once in a while, it would laugh or cackle, but most of the time it was just like that or crying. And when he sees that, oh my gosh, I've opened these bandages up and all its internal organs are on the outside, he takes the scissors and he stabs the baby in one of the internal organs, and blood shoots out of its mouth, and it's writhing. Candice really won't want to watch this now, but I was just it hurt me so bad watching that, because I said, even though this was a mutation, this was still Henry's child. And I could kind of see, on one hand, he was putting the child out of its misery, because he probably feared it was going to die anyway, that it was going to
Yeah.
suffer and die because its organs had been exposed. But just the whole process of that. And David Lynch brought up the fact that he thinks a lot of himself was in this movie, fears of fatherhood when he was a young father, and fears that you will, hurt your child inadvertently, or not raise your child right, not provide for them right. The same fears that every young father has, when they find out their wife or their girlfriend is pregnant, and they're about to become a daddy. I can only imagine the fears that would go through a man's mind. How am I going to provide for this child? Am I going to give them enough? What if I make mistakes, and what if this child becomes a criminal because I've made these mistakes? I mean, there's all kinds of things that I'm sure, various things that run through a man's mind, and it's not the same things that's running through a woman's mind. Usually when a woman, if she's not out on the street or out on her own, she's happy. She's
Yeah.
overjoyed that she's going to be a mother.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, more than likely, the man's thinking, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? How are we going to take care of that? They're thinking, because I know my dad did, because my mom wanted to have a baby as soon as her and dad got married. She was like, "Oh, Daryl, I want to have a baby."
Yeah.
And he said, "Let's wait until, I get some insurance with my job, get things more established, and then we'll talk about having a baby." So
they did it the traditional way, huh?
instead of my mom getting to have her baby at age 17, my parents weren't even 18 when they got married. They were 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people women especially, get married younger than that. But they got married at 17. Mom didn't get pregnant with me until 19. And then
Well,
6 years
I
later,
was
I had my brother.
I was at the prom with my mom and dad in her stomachs. Then they got married.
And they got married, and
Yeah.
they
But not because of me. Apparently
no.
my dad was wanting to get married, but that's how it happened with me and Chris too, and it wasn't traditional with us either. I still wore white.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I think that whole thing of, you can't wear white because you're soiled. What the heck? I don't. Yeah, if you want to wear white and you're pregnant or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't think God looks down on you because of that. Especially if you're going to get married anyway. I mean,
Well, he'd already planned to marry me. It just happened in between us being engaged and getting married. So I
and
guess that's a
sometimes
good
that's
thing.
how it happens. But I think there were a lot of fatherhood,
Yeah.
first fatherhood fears, and they got inputted into Eraserhead, no matter how bizarre
It is
Eraserhead is.
bizarre. It's what I seen of it is very bizarre. Very bizarre. But I wanted to ask you, because I've got this far ahead, and I don't think it's a spoiler.
Uh,
At least I hope it's not a spoiler. So if you think it's a spoiler and you've not watched it, then close your ears.
close off your
Um,
ears.
so what do you think of David Lynch's cameo, his character in Twin Peaks?
In Twin Peaks of Gordon.
Yeah,
Gordon, of course, for those of y'all that don't know, is Agent Cooper's superior for the FBI.
yeah.
And I love Gordon. And I love David Lynch's portrayal, because David Lynch has that quirky, off kilter way that not only does he direct his films and his television shows like Twin Peaks, but he also, you know, has that when he's acting as
Yeah,
well. And I
yeah.
love that.
I
Absolutely.
definitely see that. To me, he seems like he's a character, a character coming out like Dick Tracy or something like that. And he
Yeah.
can't hear very good, so he has to wear these like ear these hearing aids that comes with like this little box that
Uh,
goes down into his
and
coat,
it's
and he
even
yells.
it's even worse in
Oh,
this
is he
third
there? Okay.
season. Yeah.
So he has to yell, and the one that I thought was hilarious. He had to take Cooper into the um into the room because he was wanting to be like a private conversation, and they're sitting there talking and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, you know that we can hear you." Every word you're saying out here.
Yeah.
So nothing that he says is quiet because he can't hear.
Mhm.
I thought it was hilarious though.
And somebody else that I talked about yesterday, who's I think has sadly passed away. He was actually sick with cancer when this was
Mhm.
uh, being done. But he was on there, and the log lady was also very sick and
Oh,
elderly when this
really?
was being made. And I think she may have died during it or just after
Mhm.
it. But Miguel Ferrer, who plays the, I guess he's like a forensic coroner type like guy. He investigates the stuff, and that guy, I'm sure he was a very nice person in real life, but Miguel Ferrer usually played asshole characters, and this one is no exception. He comes in and he comes into the small town of Twin Peaks, and he kind of tries to take over. And he's a smart aleck. He thinks these are country bumpkins, and he's smarter than any of them. And Sheriff Truman, Harry, he's named Harry Truman.
Harry is Truman.
Yeah, Harry is Truman, like the president. Um, he ends up punching him in the face at one time because he
Mm,
takes enough of it. And since Candice mentioned the character of Gordon, David Lynch's character, when early on when Gordon calls Agent Cooper, he says, "Coop," he said, he's wanting to file like some kind of suit against Sheriff Truman for punching him and stuff. And like he's like,
yeah,
Gordon, I no, we're not even doing this. And he's like,
yeah.
Cooper.
As big of a butthole he is, I like his character.
I like it, but he is definitely somebody that would rub people the wrong way. That
Yeah,
character is somebody.
I like the part where Harry was, he's saying something, something crazy again, and he grabs him. He says he's going to punch him again, and he
Mm.
was like, you got, and he looks at him. And he's like, I love you. Do you remember that part? And they're like, what? And Agent Cooper says something like his journey is very strange or something like that. I forget what he said, but it was funny, I thought. But yeah, he passed away. Don't know. It's been a few years ago, I guess.
Mhm. It was. I think it was. It was probably not during the making, but I think it was pretty soon after
Yeah,
this. And he was visibly ill. You could tell when he was. What a
really.
trooper he was to do this, even though you could tell he just did not feel well at all.
Hmm.
The log lady, the same thing. I think the log lady may have had oxygen on it when she was doing
Really?
these scenes. Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch it again for sure, but I thought that's what it was. Yeah.
I'll have to go and watch the third season. Well, the third season, if you
And
want to call it
I want to bring up Jack Nance real quick because Jack Nance, He was in Blue Velvet. He was one of Frank Dennis Hopper's, like,
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
guys that hangs around him. He was Henry Spencer in Eraserhead. He was Pete Martell in Twin Peaks. So he's been in just about everything that
Yeah.
David Lynch has done. Jack Nance, unfortunately, was brutally murdered, which is
Really?
a terrible twist considering the fact that Twin Peaks, a murder is what
Yeah, I
started
didn't know
that whole.
that.
Yeah, I don't know the details. Um, I'm not sure I want to know the details, but he was evidently brutally murdered.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was one of those things where somebody broke into his house or what.
Mhm.
If somebody knows, you feel free to share in there.
That's
We don't
crazy.
have to get explicit or anything, but yeah, I think probably my favorite character that he played though was Pete Martell in Twin Peaks. I just
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. Piper Laurie's good, even though she is a total bitch in this.
Yeah, I think she looks a lot as she got older, she looked a lot like Debbie Reynolds to me,
Yeah,
as Debbie Reynolds got older. But it's not my favorite thing that she's been in because she just, I don't know, because nothing can ever compare with that Carrie performance that she put on. But I still like her in it. She's very dislikable. Very
yeah,
dislikable.
and
Um,
she can be sexy too. And some people think,
yeah.
"Oh gosh, don't talk about Piper Laurie being sexy," even at that age.
Oh,
But those scenes with
very attractive woman, I thought.
I don't know if I want to give away who the scenes are.
Somebody.
Where,
With
uh,
somebody.
somebody important. I'll just say that, in case there are some of you that haven't seen the original run of Twin Peaks. But she can be sexy. She can be
Oh, yeah.
seductive and all that. And then there's Josie Packard, Miss Chin. Uh, she's a very beautiful.
Oh, yeah, very beautiful woman, I thought.
Mhm. Chris says Piper Laurie's sexy as Annie M in Return to Oz. I
And,
haven't seen Return to Oz in a long, long time.
now another person I thought was good looking was Dana Ashbrook.
Dana Ashford, yeah. Even though, like, I don't know if it was David Lynch or a combination of him and Dana Ashbrook that made the Bobby character. So you can't take your eyes off of him. He's easy on
Yeah.
the eyes, number one.
Yeah.
But two,
You
there's
wanna
just something dark and intriguing about him.
Yeah, you want to dislike him, but you like him, or that's at least how I feel. You want to dislike his character, but
Mhm.
to me, there's just something about him that I don't know. I like him in a sort of weird way.
Yeah, I like him better than his friend Mike. I don't know. Mike is just a dick. Like
Yeah.
he is. Mike has no character to him. He's like and David Lynch might have did that on purpose too.
Could have.
You have Bobby who's just charismatic and all this stuff, and then you
Yeah.
got Mike is kind of like the sidekick that just acts like a dick basically.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like that, and I don't think I'm giving anything away here because this happens early on in Twin Peaks. That it's not really a key plot point, but Shelley, played by Madkin Amick, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, who's also very beautiful. She works at the
Mhm.
diner with Norma at the
Oh,
Double R
yeah.
diner. Bobby is having an affair with
Yes.
Shelley. And the scenes with them, like her straddling him at the kitchen table and stuff like that. I mean, for television, that was
Risque, huh?
yeah, it was pretty risque. And I just, that showed that Bobby had character, and I think that
Yeah.
he really cared about Shelley.
I think he did too. I think that, he definitely cared for her more than he did Laura. But
Yeah,
then, I'm not going to get into that, but Laura is not who she seems to be at the beginning. You start finding out, and I won't go into it because, that would be giving away things. But
they would give away some of the secrets of the show. Hey, Coco, it's good to see you in here.
hey,
You said one of the most beautiful women I ever did see. Hi, everyone. Oh, so which one you talking about, Coco? Because I know we talked about Jocelyn Chin, and we talked about Piper Laurie. We talked about Mac and the Mick. Um,
but Peggy Jennings, Norma,
hmm
she was an attractive woman,
hmm
the owner of the Double R.
Oh, is that Peggy Lipton? Is that who
Hmm
you?
Who did
Okay.
I say?
Peggy Jennings, I think. But
Oh, well, I wrote
I knew what you were talking.
Peggy Lipton. Yeah, that's her
I
name.
think she was Norma Jennings in the
But
show.
yeah, I've got it mixed up. Yeah,
Yeah,
but you're right.
that's
Peggy Lipton.
not a big.
Um, I think she's an attractive woman. I mean, she's like
Yeah,
a mature, attractive woman. So I always did think she was a pretty
yeah,
woman.
yeah. I think so too. Oh, so
So
that Coco, you're saying the Mick chick? I just just tuned in. Okay, yes, she is very, very attractive, and
mm,
I liked her in Sleepwalkers. I know people will moan and groan about that, but she was one of the leads essentially in Sleepwalkers.
and
I love
Sleepwalk.
Sleepwalkers. It's cheesy, but I still love it. But so I was trying to think. And if Candice, if there's anything else you want to bring up too, we can. Um,
Uh, I mean, as far as it goes, what I could talk about is just, really just Twin Peaks and um Blue Velvet and some other, which I've seen Dune. I seen that a long time
oh
ago.
yeah, I
A
almost forgot
long,
about
long time
that.
ago. What I've seen of it, I don't remember ever liking it.
Right.
But I couldn't talk about it because that was probably in the 90s sometime whenever I seen it.
Mm.
Um,
I can ask you this. Somebody brought up yesterday when I was rambling on about stuff that David Lynch had been asked originally to do Halloween 2.
mm,
What do you think David Lynch would have done with a movie like that?
well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where that would ever went to. I mean,
I mean, Rick Rosenthal ended up directing it, and it was, it became more gory, but I think it would
mhm.
have been more abstract if David Lynch had went ahead and did it. I don't think it. This is no hit against David Lynch. I'm just saying I don't think it would have been a Halloween film had David Lynch gotten a hold of it, because he would have probably went more along the lines of what John Carpenter originally wanted to do with the Halloween series, is not
Yeah,
have them all be about Michael Myers, but have them
yeah.
all be a different aspect of Halloween.
That's what I figure too. Like it would be some kind of like original story that he would come up with.
Mhm. Uh, Chris said David Lynch was also offered to work on one of the Star Wars movies, which would have been interesting too, to see what he could have done with that.
Yeah, which I mean, cause Dune, from what I remember, that's like a space movie,
Hmm
correct? Like what I remember of it. Like I said, it had been years and years and years as a kid whenever I seen it. Um, I don't know. I don't know if it would have worked for him or not, but maybe it would have. You never know. I mean, you never know what anybody could do. I mean,
hmm
because there's been uh people done things that you couldn't believe that they're the one that directed it. So, um, I don't know. But Tim Burton got a hold of the Planet of the Apes, and
Yeah.
I'll just leave that there. I'll leave that at that. Um, But then again, I mean, that doesn't mean anything.
But I could give y'all a bunch more quotes and stuff about Eraserhead, but I may mention a few more when we do a second part of this.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just sit and read off quotes. I was kind of trying to interject them if it was related to something else me and Candice were talking about. Chris says we don't talk about Tim Burton's Planet of the
Oh,
Apes.
he hates that. Yeah. What do you think about Cheryl Lee's double role?
As Laura Palmer and then as her cousin Maddie.
Maddie, yeah.
I like it. Now, I love Cheryl Lee.
Mhm.
I think the first time for some reason, I didn't take a lot of notice of Cheryl Lee or who she was when I watched Twin Peaks the first time around. So when I really started getting into the Beatles
Mhm.
and their music and their history and stuff like that, there was a movie that came out, I forget exactly what year, called Backbeat, that
Mhm.
was about the Beatles' early years in Hamburg, Germany, when they were playing these small clubs, and Pete
Yeah.
Best was their drummer. And well, um, Stu, shoot, help me out here, Candace. John Lennon's friend Stu. What was his last name? Ugh, daggone it. Didn't
My
think I
goodness. Nina, you've got me you got it
would.
in
I
my
didn't think I would forget that guy's name.
Stu, hell, Dana, you got me stumped. Hold on just a second. I hate when I do that.
Well, anyway, while Candace is thinking about that, when they were in Germany, Stu got involved with a German girl,
Stuart Sutcliffe.
Stuart Sutcliffe. I knew it was
I
another S. Okay. So Stu Sutcliffe got involved with Astrid, who was a
Mhm.
young German girl in Hamburg when they were playing in essentially they were playing the red light district in Hamburg. But and if
I
you don't
think
know
Freddie
what,
Mercury did too whenever he was in Queen. I think he spent a lot of time in that
yeah.
kind of
And if you don't know what a red light district is, I'm not going to explain to you, but you can go
don't
look
look it
it
up.
up.
Yeah, but be careful.
Be very careful if you look it up. Um, but anyway, in the movie Backbeat, Cheryl Lee played Astrid. And
Mm.
that's when I really took notice of her. And I thought she was so beautiful. And when I went back and I watched Twin Peaks even before this time, uh, I was struck by how beautiful she was. But
Yeah.
Backbeat is the movie that got me to really take notice of her. That's a great movie, by the way. If y'all are at all interested in anything Beatles related, you should check out Backbeat. Uh, Tom said it's where people wear red. Damn, how do you not know about this? Yeah, we'll keep it like that. Yeah, everybody wears red there, Tom.
Oh.
Oh man, but I upon watching this second time around, and then more recently for this show, watching Twin Peaks again, I'm really liking, what Cheryl Lee did with that character. And I'll reveal something to you guys and gals. I always used to get Cheryl Lee and Sherilyn Fenn mixed up in the show. I don't know why. Sherilyn Fenn played Audrey, and Cheryl Lee played Laura, but I guess
Talk
the S's or something gets me.
to me, Audrey, I think that she is absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
She reminds me a lot of Marilyn Monroe.
Steve loves Sherilyn Fenn.
I think that she is just gorgeous. To me, out of all of them, she's the most beautiful one on the show, if you want to, pick, who you think's the most, you know. And then when it comes to men, I don't have to say who the. Kyle MacLachlan.
Kyle MacLachlan all the way. Yeah.
Now I like him, and I'm not just saying this, and some people might look at me crazy, but I thought Jack Nance was
Jack
a
Nance
good looking man.
has Jack Nance has those sweet puppy dog eyes. That's what
Yes,
gets me with Jack
that
Nance.
I think and I liked his character really
Mhm.
well in. Now, Blue Velvet, that's a different thing. He wasn't awful, but
He
he's
just
not
kinda
good.
he was like the moody guy that went around with, "I'm Paul," and he would go around
Yeah, yeah,
looking you up and down, He was
yeah.
doing the vibe thing,
But I love his character in Twin Peaks,
Yeah,
and he's got an innocence about him,
yeah.
And the thing is with him, um, I feel sorry for him because the way that Catherine treats him, Papa Laurie's character,
Mhm.
she treats him awful. And he doesn't really complain or anything about it. He just kind of goes along with everything. And I didn't realize he had. Maybe I did know that he had got murdered, but I don't ever remember knowing that. I hate
I
to hear
know,
that.
I do know, in case anybody is, curious about listening to somebody talk about Scott on Tape. He has a pretty big channel, and he knows Sean Clark and all those guys that do these where they go to where they film different movies. Sean
Yeah,
Clark does his thing. Well, Scott on Tape, and there's another the Grim Life Collective. All those guys, they do that stuff. But anyway, Scott on Tape did a video at one time about the murder of Jack Nance.
hmm.
Um,
Seems like I knew that it happened. I just have forgotten. But that's terrible.
yeah, I mean, it's just like Lou Perryman, when we talked about Lou
Yeah,
Perryman.
yeah, that was crazy.
Uh, that's the kind of stuff. It's like it's senseless. It's any murder is senseless, but it's just it knocks you backwards and almost through a wall when you hear about these. I don't know. I think sometimes, at least I think, we think our heroes and these people that we watch on the big screen and even on the small screen are invincible. And then when
Hmm,
we find out that they've died in horrendous ways, they ain't even died under normal
yeah.
circumstances, that somebody took their life.
So somebody just murdered him?
Like I said, I don't know the details, but
That's crazy. I knew he was dead. I knew he wasn't alive anymore, but I didn't know that's how he passed away. So that's terrible. I know that he had some weird stuff, like some like hardships. I think he was maybe an alcoholic or struggle with that because I had read that somewhere. But I didn't know that that's how he, passed away. So that's crazy. Yeah. There's been plenty of like celebrities and stuff that you find out, hey, they've been involved in just horrendous. I mean, which it wasn't a murder or anything, but look at Julian Sands, what happened to him. That was crazy. I mean, he got lost.
yeah,
Or maybe he didn't get lost, he might have got hurt while, I guess mountain climbing,
I think
while it
so.
was
Yeah.
during a winter storm and stuff, so, they finally ended up finding him, but that was just crazy, just a crazy. Because 'cause I've met Julian Sands before, and especially meeting somebody and then finding out that that's what happened to him, that's just it's hard to wrap your head around it.
Yeah. And when I heard that Olivia Hussey died, she didn't get murdered or anything.
Yeah,
That hit me like a ton of bricks.
yeah,
I'm still kind of reeling from that. And
yeah,
Lord, hold on.
okay.
Oh boy, the life of having 5 dogs. But Darcy, that's enough. They're always barking. I'm sure Candice is familiar
I'm
with
used
that.
I'm used to it, so, I mean, I got 3 myself now. Oh, Dana, why didn't you stop me from getting 3? No, I
No,
love
because Coda's too cute. That's what.
he is. Just ask Chris. Chris gets aggravated with him sometimes because he's a
Yeah,
puppy, and he's a big puppy because he's part Saint Bernard. So, I mean, he's a huge puppy.
really big puppy.
And when you got a little puppy that's hyper, you know how little puppies are. Well, put their hyperactivity into a big puppy, and that's something. But he's so sweet, Dana. He's. I
Mm.
know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but
Oh, it's
um,
okay. We can talk about other stuff too.
he's just a
He-
sweet little fellow.
Chris, he said he is aggravating 100%.
He is to Chris, but Chris loves him, so he can't say
Yeah,
that. He might want to deny that, but it's the truth. He does. But Coda is a sweet boy. He's a sweet boy, and he's so adorable. So I don't regret it, but he's a lot to handle right now. But he's
but
good, and he's easily trained, so that's
yeah,
something. So
I
can't
think y'all have
complain.
already gone a long ways towards training him and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
And he listens to commands. All I got to do now, I don't even have to say the word. I just do my little thing, and he'll sit down. And he knows when I do this to him, that means sit down. And he's
that's
really
good. He's
smart. He's a smart.
already
Yeah.
learning. I did want to mention some of these messages that I missed earlier. So
Mhm.
Chris said Dune is pretty boring, to be honest. Coco
Yeah.
says I didn't like Dune as a kid. It was too weird. It freaked me out a little. And Tom says Sting was annoying. Um, was Sting in Dune?
Seems like he was.
Because I can't.
I believe he was, Dana. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's got like their crazy blonde hair and
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
remembering now. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dune is not something I see myself going back to
Yeah.
repeatedly.
Because Sting, I remember I remember because he's in it, and it's really weird because he comes out, and this is Sting. My mom always loved Sting. She always loved the police. She loved the soul stuff.
Mhm.
So it's weird seeing Sting come out, and he's half naked with like these really weird like
I remember
underwear
that.
on. So yeah, I forgot all about that because like I said, it's probably been since the '90s since I've seen it.
So
But
I guess Tom wasn't a fan of Sting and Dune.
it's
Oh
weird.
wow. Uh, Chris says they should have got Sting the wrestler.
I always like because I love the movie Coneheads, and I don't know why, but just looking at him, Sting and Dune, whenever he's got those underwear on, it reminds me whenever the Coneheads, whenever like Dan Aykroyd and them, they go back and to where they're from, and
Yeah.
they're trying to fight that thing, that big monster, and they got like these underwear. It reminded me of that. I don't know why. I'm weird. Just random stuff pops into my head.
Well, it pops into my head too. I had all kinds of random stuff about useless information with a racer head that would just pop in my
Yeah.
head. We were talking about something else, but
Well, like, whenever I first started watching, Twin Peaks again, it was hard for me to get over, uh, seeing, Stacy from Wayne's World,
yeah.
and all I wanted to say every time that I would see her is just, "Hi, Wayne. Hi." She
Yeah.
crashes into that car,
Yeah.
but she's the psycho hose beast from Wayne's World, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but,
Go
I mean,
watch
I
Wayne's World, by the way. If you have, especially if you haven't already watched Wayne's World.
Yeah, Laura Flynn Boyle's in it. She plays, Stacy.
Yeah.
So I always that was hard for me to get out past that part where she comes off as that crazy chick in Wayne's World.
Yeah, and she's pretty, although slightly annoying on Twin Peaks to me at least. But she's pretty, straight laced in Twin Peaks
Yeah.
compared with Wayne.
Oh, yeah. He says, "Well, gun wreck. I don't even own a gun. What am I going to do with a gun rack? Wayne. She gets Wayne a gun rack, and he's like, I don't even own a gun.
Right.
I
Yeah.
love her in that though.
I should do a watch along for Wayne's World sometime.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I love Wayne's World, and the second one too. I love it. It's
Mhm.
my favorite movies.
Actually, I think I got the 4K of Wayne's World for Steve like a Christmas or two ago. I got it for him.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's signing out in there, but oh, lovely.
Oh no. Well, Dana, I think that we've had a good stream. I think
I think so too. And y'all be on the lookout for, not this coming Friday, but the following Friday. We'll
yes.
continue the David Lynch discussion, and hopefully, me and Candice will get to finish up the second season of
Oh, I will. I'm sure.
and that I'll get to watch The Elephant Man and Wild at Heart and who knows what else. I probably won't watch that one thing, that 3 hour thing. I'm forgetting the name
Yeah.
of it now. I think it came out in 2006 or something like that. Gosh,
Is it a movie that he's
I
done?
believe so. Yeah, yeah. Let me look it up because I think it's Inland Empire or something.
Yeah, he does one called that. Now, I was suggested to watch the Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Mulholland Drive as well.
Inland Empire is one that he did too. So I don't know anything about it. So it's 3 hours long.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Lost Highway is another
That was
one.
one that I was suggested to watch too. Let me pull up his stuff here.
And there's the straight story. That was from 1999 that Candice talked about briefly.
Oh yeah, the straight story, yeah. Which is it's to me, I mean, it's just a kind of a straightforward film. It's not boring or anything like that, but it's just, it's a real life type film. I thought it was interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, and I might like to try to see if I can watch that before we do our next one.
Which I may watch Wild at Heart too because I love Laura Dern. I love her, and it's got Crispin Glover and Diane Ladd and people like that
Yeah.
in it. I think it even has. Pretty sure it's even got. Uh, yeah, it does. Isabella Rossellini in it. So
There you go. Because I know Candace loved her in Blue Velvet. So
mhm.
Coco says, I hate Lost Highway. I was pissed after spending an hour plus watching that nonsense. So Coco's not for that one, but
We may not like it either. Who knows?
I can't remember if I ever watched Lost Highway. I'm wanting to say that I watched Mulholland Drive with Steve because he owns it. He owns the
Mhm.
Criterion release of it, but I can't remember anything about it. Oh, I heard that noise in there. I thought Sammy was into something, but Steve's doing something. But yeah, I guess me and Candice will tie this one up for this time around. But thank you guys and gals for joining us. Coco
Yeah.
says, give it a go. Just my opinion. But I like to hear different opinions on
Oh
it.
yeah.
Ultimately, I make up my own mind about it, but I still like hearing other people's opinions.
Yeah.
But stay tuned. At 7 Eastern time this evening, I will be doing a watch along for Dog Soldiers. It is a werewolf film. I'm looking forward to watching it because I like good werewolf films, and I've heard this one's good. So, and then tomorrow night will be Cube, which I haven't seen Cube either, but I'm kind of intrigued by that. And both of them are on YouTube if you don't own them and you need a place to watch them. So I'm not going to say there might not be ads in there, but we'll get through it because that's the way I'm going to have to watch them. So we'll get through it. Chris says he loves Cube. Well, you might want to, if you can, tune in tomorrow night at 7, Chris. Or you could be on there with me if you're free, you know.
Yeah, but I've enjoyed this, Dana, and I want to thank everybody for watching, and thank you for having me on and
Always,
rescheduling
always.
it for me.
Yeah, I love Candice is, you know, no offense to anybody else, but I think Candice is one of my favorite co-hosts I've had for
Well,
things. And
thank you.
Chris is one of my favorites too. You know, I don't want Chris to feel slighted, you know. Coco says, you ladies have a good weekend. Oh, Lord. Cube messed my head up. I just didn't like it. Well, maybe, Coco, you might not want to. You can if you want. I'd love to have you regardless,
Mhm.
but I don't want, you know, I don't want your head to get more messed up if you watch it. But also stay tuned for the movie Munchies to drop at some point tomorrow. Could be 11:59 p.m., but it will drop at Sunday at some point
Looking forward to it.
for Agent Cooper's Damn Fine Cup of Coffee and Cherry Pie. I'm looking forward to trying the coffee, but I'm really looking forward to that cherry pie. I'm
Yeah.
like Agent Cooper when he bites into that pie and he says, "This is where pies must go to die."
Yeah.
He says that at some point. That's during the first season.
Yeah.
This is where pies go to die. And before me and Candice get off here, I do want to share or reshare this quote from David Lynch. Keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole. And we and Candice are off like a couple of dirty shirts. Our shirts ain't dirty, but we're off like one. And she's got a trick or treat shirt. That's
I do.
awesome. I
It's
just now noticed that.
yeah, it's the one with the
Oh,
Aussie on it. Somewhere he's off.
yeah.
There he is.
There
It's
you
the
go,
it's
Aussie.
the version that we got, the cover or whatever.
Mhm. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before we get off of here for the day, before Candace gets off here completely for the day, she may pop up in the chat tonight for the watch along. I don't know.
I will try my best.
Probably depends on what's going on, you know, with kiddos and stuff. Keep your eye on the button. I guess that could be the alternative version, Coco.
Yeah.
But I want to remind everybody to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And we're out of here for now, but we'll see everybody next time. Bye, folks.
See ya.